The William Jones case takes a new turn. The defendant in Peggy Anderson's murder motioned to withdraw his guilty plea on Friday. WIFR's Nathaniel Langley spoke with legal experts on how this changes his case.
In his withdrawal motion, Jones states his guilty plea wasn't made knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. The defendant joins Sarah Safranek, the Oregon mom accused of killing her 7-year-old son, as the second notable plea reversal in recent state-line criminal cases.
Very uncommon, and truthfully the reason for that is because it's a very uphill battle.
Guilty pleas are nothing new to Christopher Durango, a Northern Illinois defense attorney for over 30 years. He can picture William Jones accepting his in May for reportedly killing Peggy Anderson.
The judge went through everything about it, and he asked you, do you understand it? Is anybody forcing you to do this? Is there anything about it that you haven't asked your lawyer?
A deal with dozens of exits before a defendant accepts their fate.
The judge has the defendant read the guilty plea out loud, the actual plea form.
Pleas allure those accused. They avoid trials that often deliver harsher sentences.
There simply are no guarantees at trial, even when you're confident that your client is innocent and the facts demonstrate it.
Now, Jones' motion to withdraw could force a jury to decide his first-degree murder charge.
The defendant will have to either present evidence or testimony that verifies or demonstrates that the defendant did not understand something.
The request arrives days before a sentencing hearing.
Now that the rubber's meeting the road and it's hanging right in front of him, he's having cold feet.
But time remains for another reversal.
It's not uncommon for the defendant to go, you know what, never mind, I'm going to stick with it.
A judge must still decide whether Jones's withdrawal can be accepted. Durango says compelling evidence would be needed to defend the request. That decision could come as early as Friday.
Thanks, Nathaniel. If a judge accepts the defendant's motion, a jury couldn't acknowledge his earlier guilty plea. Any potential deals between the defense and prosecution can't be used in court.